you're able to connect food to self.
Yeah, well, it's the biggest thing we do every day on the planet, and we all do it 3 times a day, right? So it's a 24 billion a day choice. It's the biggest thing in the world. It's the biggest industry. It's the biggest sector. So I was very excited to discover food as my kind of career now, because it's so big and it's so rich. There's so many things to do and have impact in people's lives.
So what began your own personal health awakening?
Well, my awakening happened after a 2-year depression. That was when I kind of had an awakening, and I remember the moment it ended. I was sitting in the sunshine. But my food journey started when I was a teenager, 13 pretty much. I got bulimia, and I had it for 10 years. And I don't think I spoke about it until I was in my early 30s. So with any kind of addiction, and you guys are the experts, there's shame and secrecy, and a lot of girls probably had it at that time, but nobody talked about it. Nobody talked about it back then, right? And so that's really when it started. But coming out of my depression, I ate my way out in the produce section of Capers grocery store on West 4th, and that's when my awakening happened.
Interesting. I love that. And so that has led to just learning so much about food and even its connection with bulimia. I know that a big part of that with my clients is to eat healthy in a way where they don't have the desire to binge or purge. So is that where the healthy eating came in? Because some people will think that it just goes away, but I've found often that it will, if somebody chooses to eat in a healthy way, then it avoids the bulimia. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, I always compare food to money. Okay, so there's 2 things that people do really badly in life, and that's save money or stay out of debt, and eat. And they're very similar. So when somebody has really healthy food habits, it's the result of something emotionally. If somebody has really healthy financial habits, it's the result of something, healthy choices. A person is making healthy choices with money. So my belief is probably 80% of it is emotional well-being, and a lot of people do not have emotional well-being anymore. And then say 20 or maybe 30% of it is kind of the basic rote day-to-day eat healthy stuff, and it actually helps you sleep, and it stops the cravings. But if you're not emotionally healthy, you're going to have a problem with food.
So who comes to you for help?
Everybody. I get comments and questions and criticisms, right? I get a lot of that too. Everybody's got an issue. Lots of people are sick. I've met 7 cancer patients, victims in the last 5 days. Everybody's sick. Everybody knows somebody or is connected. 30% of Canadians over the age of 15 are now obese. That's not even overweight. We're talking obese. So it's widespread. A lot of people don't reach out because they're ashamed or embarrassed. I'm a stranger. I got a lot of messages online, social. Always when I'm out, when people introduce me, oh, my sister needs, or could I maybe get your card? Or everybody's looking for info.
So do people come to you often with one problem and then realize that it's another different problem? Like, will they come to you for help with food, but then realize that they're suffering from depression or anxiety, or how does that work?
Yeah, the people who have got the food thing figured out, because eating is really an act of self-love. If you go and prepare yourself a bowl of lentils and fresh greens on top and you drink a glass of water, that's because you're caring for yourself. If you cram a chocolate bar down your throat and you're running late to a meeting, this is absence of self-love in a way.
Why is everyone looking at me?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I hate myself.
Yeah. No, hey, I'll down a bar in 2 minutes. But on a regular, day-to-day basis, 3 or 4 times a day, every day, 7 days a week, all year long, 10 years long, you either eat because you're caring for your body, or you eat because you're not. You're doing something else. And like I said, most people, they become disconnected to food. A lot of people, they don't even know how to cook anymore. And I learned that when I had my 2 retail pop-ups, because I would speak to every customer. I spoke to 7,000 people in 2 different countries. And I would say probably 70% of them just really don't know how to cook anymore, or never learned.
Yeah, I think that's a big piece of it. I think my kids would complain about my cooking, so okay, that's a little bit hitting close to home there.
I will teach you how to make the soup that I brought you, because that's an easy, cheap meal, and you could live forever on that.
And are you big on things that are easy? Because I think that's a big piece of it. Like I'm thinking to myself, I'll look at something that's all cut up and whatever, and I'm like, oh, that's so expensive to buy that. But then I will, okay, we're all smelling Susan's soup now.
This
It actually
soup-
smells amazing.
The soup that I brought in is called Gandhi's bowl. All my food is based on Ayurvedic Indian beliefs in food. And this has 20 ingredients in it. And it literally, like I eat it for breakfast. You could eat it all day, every day, a few different flavors. This is food. This is really easy to make. It's very affordable, but a lot of people have never learned how to make a soup. They pull it out of a box or they put a bunch of water and veg in and it tastes terrible and they're like, oh, whatever. I'll heat something up. I'll go take to takeaways. I'll fry something. I'll toast something. They're preparing things, but they don't really know the basics of food.
Is that a huge piece though? Because I know, like, even when you say that, I think of, like, I don't have time to learn about food. You know what I mean? So it's like, make it easy, make it, and is that where Gojigo came from?
Yes, absolutely.
So tell me about Gojigo.
Well, I was in a drive-thru. I was in a McDonald's drive-thru about to feed, and I did feed the food to my children. And I realized my kid, that 1 in 3, my kids are 1 in 3. I just grabbed some French fries or something, right, on the way to a play date. And I was like, wow, I haven't been to McDonald's in like 20 years. Here I am in the drive-thru. What am I doing here? And I realized I was short on time. I wasn't there for the food. I was there because the drive-thru is perfect. We love the drive-thru, right? Fast food is the most perfect invention in the world, except for what's in the bag, right? Everything else is good. The toys, the prices, the convenience, the bathrooms, the artwork. Like, I love it. I love fast food, except what is served. And I was like, this is needed. Like, there's millions and millions of moms like me who are in these drive-thrus and we're all buying crap. So I set out to change the model and to change the world.
And what does Gojigo mean?
Okay, so then a couple weeks later, I was feeding my kids at home on the 60th story of our apartment building, and I had to lug the groceries and all that hassle, not easy, time consuming, and my son spilled his goji berries all over the counter, and I was feeding my daughter some yams or something, and I was like, I was rushing to get out the door again, and I was like, this is what I need. I just need gojis to go. You know, why can't I buy goji berries in the drive-thru? Why can't I buy yams? Why can't I buy nutritional yeast and healthy food? Why is it always meat and bread and tomatoes and mayonnaise? And I was like, Gojigo. It was kind of catchy. I had come up with a different concept. I wanted to start a food business, and my husband had told me it was really boring. And the brand and the color. And then so I showed him the Gojigo brand architecture, and he's like, good. So I opened the first business in Cape Town.
I think that's awesome. And you also call yourself an animal-free food activist. And okay, before I hand you over to Darren, I just want to tell you that I recently got a cat. And this was quite
Don't
big.
eat it.
No, I know, but here's my point. I was kind of like, this cat, I've never really had a pet, and this cat is really loving and all these wonderful things, right? And has really become sort of like a part of the family, and it's just interesting to me now that I have this connection with this pet, that like some animals are like family and some animals are like food. So I think, is that sort of the internal shift that needs to happen in somebody, where they start to think of animals in a different way? Because I've thought about going animal free so many times, but then I think I'm just mostly lazy, or I don't know what to eat.
Yeah, well, not lazy. Don't beat yourself up, right? You're busy with it. This is life. And food, that's why Goji was created. We need to create easier fast food. You know, it's a big, huge global need. So the animal-free thing is very big and complicated. And there's lots of different reasons. I didn't come to it for moral reasons, to be honest. I came to it for happiness reasons. I was depressed. So I wasn't trying to not eat animals. I just ended up eating all plants because that's where the action is. That's where the nutrients are. And I ended up kind of an accidental vegan. I didn't even know what the word meant until someone called me one, because I was so busy cramming plants down my throat to be happy.
And so you don't eat any dairy or any meat, just like tofu.
And not jar, because it smells amazing.
I just have to apologize to all the vegans for what Francis just said. Sorry. It's just tofu and plants.
I'm new.
Okay, this is 20 ingredients in it, all plants, plus water. Okay, from olives, because it's olive oil, to garam masala, which is kind of like the holy spice of the Indian Ayurvedic diet. So just to simplify it, because I think that's really important for people, if you learn to cook, you can learn to make food that doesn't require animals. Okay, so you can basically make all your meals without having any animals. But there's a whole bunch of new food that is animal replacement food. So there's animal-free butter, there's animal-free cheese, there's animal-free sausages. If you want those things to look like that, if you want to have a hot dog, you can have one without animal products. I don't really go for all that stuff. I just eat the plants, but I can cook. So, like you said, you know, I got 3 years worth of tips and info and shopping strategies, budgets. It's really affordable to drop animals. Like we probably save, in between $3,000 and $6,000 a year.
Yeah, because that's the connection with the
Yeah.
with the animals, not with the animals, but with the food and the money as well. Like I have noticed that myself in keeping a budget where it's like there's net gains and net losses, and so really you're always gaining if you're eating plants. Like you can't, like you basically can't
Yeah.
lose really.
Well, the only thing I think, and I'm happy to say this because I'm so transparent, the only reason why I would think someone actually should continue if they just can't give it up is taste. There's no health reason, there's no economic reason, but if you want to eat the taste of something that's an animal, then no animal-free product is going to replace that. But by the time you shift into kind of an animal-free lifestyle, you're so past those ideas. You're just onto a whole other level of information.
So let's talk about that shift, because I mean, if I sort of grab onto the videos online of the slaughterhouses and the moral standards of the animals and whatnot, and it's like, for a moment I'm like, I'm never eating meat again. Like this is horrible. I got to make change. But like you said, I'm talking about this habit, this historic habit that is so ingrained and so subconscious of my diet. It's like I can't just make that choice right there, a conscious choice. There's so much more involved, right? So what do you say is the way to shift from animal products to absolutely none? Do you just go cold turkey? Is it a 3-month shift? Like what?
Well, for you personally, what I would recommend, are you single?
No.
Oh, okay. Find yourself a vegan girlfriend or a vegan boyfriend. I just say that jokingly, but one step at a time, one choice at a time. Okay, so you're going to eat dinner. Okay, what do you got at home? What are you going to eat for dinner? Do you already know, or what are your choices tonight?
I do have to do a grocery shop for today.
Okay, so what did you eat for dinner last night?
What did I eat for dinner? I had egg toast sandwich.
Okay, so you can
The fridge was empty.
They have a newborn.
Yeah.
Well, oh my God, you got to buy food. We got a new baby in the house. You got to feed it. Okay, so this is one choice. So you can have that exact same meal. You can buy a product by Follow Your Heart, which is a really cool old school hippie company from the 60s down in LA. They make veganese or veganese. You can literally buy an egg replacement because it's not going to look the same. It looks a little different. So you could make that on toast with some fried onions and a cup of coffee or beer, whatever you're going to have. You can make that same thing. Or you could throw a can of beans on the toast and again add some spinach or something. You're going to get some protein. So it's just a matter of how you got to have the stuff in your pantry. That's why I was talking about the grocery store is the most powerful place in the world. The moment you walk into that store is where you make those choices.
Right.
Just add one plant today
And
add one plant tomorrow.
And that's the other difficulty as far as my habits go. I have a habit of going to 3 separate grocery stores.
Most
right?
people do. That's
because
good.
one place doesn't have this, and the other thing. So there's
So which
always.
ones do you shop at?
I think there's Safeway, and then there's Donald's, and then a local grocery store just around the corner.
Like a little Chinese place?
No.
What is it? Like what brand is it?
It's like a Shop Easy is what it's called.
Shop Easy,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, so Donald's, awesome produce.
Yeah.
Great grades,
Yes.
tons of good food there,
Yes.
good prices. Safeway, huge organic section now.
Now, yes.
Very good spice section. They have 36 spices in there, the best
I
prices in
noticed
town.
that. And here's the thing, right? Like, because I know where to go. I don't like to spend all day in the grocery store. So I'm in and out, right?
Yeah.
And so now we're talking about, okay, I gotta make a list. I gotta go into the grocery store and I gotta confuse myself entirely. Like go through a whole different shopping routine, right? But this is,
Well,
of
the
course you
easiest-
do.
The easiest thing is to know how to make, say, 5 good meals.
Okay. There you
That's
go.
all you really need, right?
Yeah.
5 good meals, eat out a couple times, cheat a couple times, eat a chocolate bar one night, whatever. If you can,
Okay. Now,
so you don't have to
Wait a
learn
second.
100 things, you just have to learn a few things.
You mentioned having a partner that's on that same page. What if your partner isn't? Is there a way of hiding the change that
Yes.
you're making?
Yes, there's lots of sneaky tricks I can teach you.
All right, this is a wealth of
Yeah.
information. Now, can people go to your website to sort of find some of this information?
Yes. So gojigo.ca, Gojigo.ca, is static. So there's a bunch of pages there and there's information. But the real gold mine is my Facebook page that I started. There's a Gojigo Facebook page and the Susan Standfield-Spooner Facebook page has 3 years of photographs, recipes, tips, strategies. Just go through it all, organize it. I put it there. I do 3 or 4 posts every day. It's really my public offering, a health offering for free for anybody. Send it, share it, whatever. You can always message me. I'm trying to do more things like radio or TV, cooking demonstrations, because literally it is so easy. I have 2 little kids. I don't have time.
Yeah.
And I don't have a huge budget for food either. So I've got like the bomb when it comes to fast, affordable, really delicious food. It's got to taste good. That's the thing. A lot of people, they move into the animal-free thing and they have this awful experience. Like, it's just tofu and plants. And they're like, well, that's not good. And they go back to their, steak or French fries. So it's little changes every day. Tiny little things. But you will save money. You will lose weight. You will be happier. And you will be saving the planet. Those are the big wins. It's worth it.
And did your children factor in on this change?
Well, they were the ones that sucked up all my time.
Yeah.
So I
So
was
due
like,
to that loss of
yeah,
time.
and I produce 84 meals a week, like every mother, right? There's 4 of us. We eat 3 times a day. That's 84 meals a week. Everybody's got to have enough protein. Everybody's got to have enough fiber. So I have to have fast, efficient, good ideas, or I really won't be feeding my family properly. And everybody's in that same boat, especially parents, right?
Right. So I mean, basically, we're addicted to the foods that we're currently eating.
Some of them we technically are. Like cheese has a protein called casein that has the same effect on dopamine as heroin does.
Yeah.
So there is that. There's that stuff going on. Same with sugar, and that's in all the animal foods. There's a lot of chemicals that we're addicted to. We're addicted to the sight of food or smell of food. You just anybody who walks into a fast food place or a pizza place, a hot pizza place, that's affecting your senses, your sight, your smell.
Yeah.
But the good news is, the more kind of food like this you eat, you can quell those cravings and you can move away from food addiction.
Right, but it is going to be like no change like this is easy and comfortable and convenient. I mean, it's going to take
It is easy.
a little stamina, though. I mean, yeah.
You know what it really is? It's whether you're at the start line or not. Are you ready or not?
So you mentioned
It's not
that
hard.
emotional instability
Yeah.
that's there to help fuel
Yeah.
your choices or your negative choices or your unhealthy choices.
Well, and I think it's what you guys are experts at, right? I really wanted to come here. It's like somebody's at that, it's that day. Today is the day to stop.
So let's say there's someone's eating, they're listening to the show, they want to make change, but they got a lot of unresolved issues going on. Are they going to set themselves up for failure? Like, do we talk about the therapy or counseling or something else to add to this change that they're going to make?
Yeah, both. And I have had people cry in front of me in my restaurants because they actually just really need therapy. But you can do it. No, seriously.
Yeah,
I don't want to
it.
eat healthy. Oh no, I want to lose weight. Oh my God, my childhood was terrible. It is. It's all there. But you can do the two together. If you eat a bowl of grains and lentils and fresh food, you're going to calm your anxiety, so you are less likely maybe to make a poor choice around a substance. Vice versa. You go to therapy, you're probably going to go, you know what, I'm going to go have a salad. I'm not going to go jack myself up on pizza and Coke.
Right.
So I would say they're hand in hand, and just make a tiny little choice every day. A tiny little choice this week. Give yourself a year. It took me 2 years to turn my food and depression and health habits around, because you got to do other stuff, right? You got to go to work and raise your kids, you go to the bathroom, and life gets in the way, and you make mistakes. So give yourself time and love yourself. Realize that act of eating is an act of self-love and self-care, and love and care for others if we're feeding others.
Yeah, and that's something you say when you said it. I mean, it's so true. Like, again, it's one of those, of course, right? Of course, that's why we do that. And yet, it's just like I'm going through my head, like how often I don't take care of myself, or I'm not loving myself. You know what I mean?
Get you on track.
And it's just there's so many people that could get such a slight little bit of self-respect change and self-motivation just by changing the food that they eat.
Yeah.
So gojigo.ca, check it out. Where are you mentioned pop-ups? Where are your stores?
Okay, well, I don't have any right now. My first one was outside Cape Town, where we lived, and then we moved home, and our second was in Gibsons, BC, in the Sunshine Coast, where we lived. And everybody loved the food, but it was just too small a town and
Right.
kind of the wrong side of the building. So we're not going to do the retail in Vancouver because the lease rates, it's just not affordable. There's no food margins
bad.
anymore, as we all know. There's so many for lease signs. So I may do a grocery line, but I have these two great books that I was hoping to give away about them
absolutely.
as gifts. Okay, one is called Whitewash. It's by a new gal that I've become friends with named Carrie Gillum. She's a Kansas former Reuters investigative journalist. This book is awesome. The second book is by Jane Goodall, who is one of my absolute fave heroes, Seeds of Hope. And I brought this because there is so many reasons to have hope. You know, even if you don't think you have hope today, you're listening on the radio and you're like, oh, this crappy life and I don't need money and got this terrible food in my closet. You can go to the store and buy an apple and spend $1 and eat your apple, and that's a reason to have hope, and there's always hope. So I want to give these books away. You guys tell me how to do that with people in their comments,
Yeah, just,
and I will get them to people.
Leave your name in the comment section of this video and share it, and we will put you in the draw to win both of those books.
Thanks for having me.
That was awesome. Thanks, Susan Standfield from Gojigo. We are going to go on a break and stay tuned for a personal story from Krista S. coming up after the song break. You're listening to Talk Recovery on Vancouver Co-op Radio's CFR 100.5 FM, and we're going to start with a little hunger strike, Temple of the Dog.
Nice.